back to Cinema Corner, and today it's just me, Blake, as I am reviewing Peaky Blinders, which Josh and Alex have not seen. A little late to this. I believe the final season came out early this year, possibly in summer, June or July. But I had not seen it yet. I just recently have watched over the past probably a couple, 2-ish months I've gotten around to it. And I just finished it, and I felt like making a video about it, as I think the series was phenomenal. So I just wanted to come in. This, like I said, is in an entirety of the series. It is not just season 6, which is the final season. So this will be a spoiler-filled review of the entire Peaky Blinders series. Like I said, I'm not going to go too super in depth here because that would be tough to do a solo video without going too long. So I'm kind of just going to talk about main points kind of throughout each season a little bit, and then just an overall overview of it. But yeah, so this is my Peaky Blinders review. Starting out, obviously, I feel like you just have to talk about, as I said, this is spoiler filled, so I don't need to, fill in all the little things. But season 1, just in general, is talking about the Shelby family, getting to know them and what they're about. Obviously, the star of it, Cillian Murphy, just kills it the entire series. Thomas Shelby, I think, is easily up there for one of the greatest characters in any TV show. His entire arc throughout the 6 seasons was just phenomenal. His acting, just his character in general, he had presence for sure throughout the series. Obviously, you have his brothers, Arthur, John, and Finn, and then their sister Ada, and then Aunt Polly, Uncle Charlie is kind of the main Shelbys. Obviously, later on you get a little bit later on you get Michael, which is Polly's son, but he's a Grey, so he's not really a Shelby. But that's kind of the main family members, and then you have just a lot of people that served with them, as obviously Arthur, Tommy, and John served in World War I over in France. So you have a lot of people. Jeremiah's son Isaiah grows up and throughout the series and kind of gets a little bit of a bigger part throughout the series. But yeah, season 1 is really just introducing Birmingham, which is obviously a huge part of the story as it goes on, just in Small Heath, just kind of that town and city, and how they the people there fear or respect what the Shelbys are doing. And then you have Inspector Campbell, who had a good run. Inspector Campbell had. And so the first one is obviously, the first season is more focused on Campbell's trying to bring them down, while the Peaky Blinders are trying to overthrow Billy Kimber for betting on horse racing and all that kind of stuff. And obviously you get Grace, who you find out is working for Campbell, and you have kind of her and Tommy have their little love issue thing going on. But I thought this was a great way to start the series. I thought it was interesting. Billy Kimber was the protagonist, and he was interesting enough. He wasn't anything super special when you think about kind of the best throughout the series. He definitely doesn't come jump off the table or jump off the page at you for somebody that you're like, man, Billy Kimber was great, but he was still a good villain. And overall I thought season 1 was really well done. The writing, the acting, obviously, and just kind of you kind of focus in that one. You get a lot more of Tommy kind of dealing with PTSD and his opioid issue, and they kind of drop that for the most part till the end. They kind of get back on his PTSD stuff, yeah, that part was kind of weird, but overall, I thought season 1 was really good. Obviously, you had Arthur dealing with his issues of coming back from war, so the show kind of touches on, the PTSD at the time. They didn't really know what it was, and you kind of just have Tommy just being like, hey, war's over, you need to move on. And you see that also with Danny Whizbang, who suffers definitely from PTSD. I believe in this was the season, where he kind of freaked out and killed one of the Italians. Might have been, I think that was season 1. But overall, I just thought season 1 was really good to kind of set the tone and understand who these characters are, what they're about, what they want, and get a good feel for Birmingham and kind of what London, in this fictional, obviously what London and all that stuff was. So I just thought all of that was really well done. You have really young Finn, and obviously this one focuses more with Ada's husband, Thorn. I can't think of his first name though. And it kind of talks about with communism and that kind of stuff. So I just thought it was interesting. You've got some, obviously this isn't the most accurate. This isn't, a documentary. So you do get some stuff with kind of what was going on over there within government and communism and fascism grows and all that stuff, which is kind of interesting. I just thought season 1 was really good to kind of just understand who we're dealing with here. And you see that Tommy is, he's a determined man. He's going to do what he has to do. Then obviously we get to season 2, which I believe that one might have been a 5-year span between season 1 or 2. I think one of them was 5. I don't remember if it was 1 to 2 or 2 to 3. But season 2 obviously kind of picks up. It's very similar in the sense of he's trying to take over that Italian guy. I cannot think of his name right now. He's trying to take over his operations again, kind of getting on the same thing of the betting is going good, but he wants to expand and grow. And so he's trying to take over Sabini. Sabini. There we go. Okay, I was trying to think about that. Sabini. He's trying to take over his empire, you could say, on the gambling side of things. And so this one we kind of see the grow of May Carlton becomes a character as Tommy, needs a horse. This one, Michael Gray, starts to become a bigger part of the show as Polly finally gets him and is, she doesn't really want him in that life. And that's kind of the battle at the beginning of, she's like, we should get out of here. Or Tommy's like, I'll pay you to leave. So you kind of see Tommy and Michael have a little bit of a battle of Michael's like, no, I'm staying. I'm going to be in this life if I have to be. And so, I thought season 2, like I said, it's fairly similar to season 1. It's in the same kind of feeling of it's focused a lot in Birmingham and Small Heath. You have some stuff with them going up to London, and I think they go somewhere else I can't think of, where Tommy is starting to expand and Alfie Simmons becomes a bigger part, or maybe he's introduced in this one. I don't think he was in season 1, but Alfie Simmons, Tom Hardy, was phenomenal. That is definitely one of the underrated, I guess, characters you could say, just because I feel like, he's not a Shelby, but anytime he was on screen, he was phenomenal. Tom Hardy and Cillian Murphy have some great scenes, especially in season 2. They have the standoff about if Tommy planted a grenade in the place or in his building. That scene in particular to me, I think is just phenomenal. But obviously in this one, Tommy's trying to take over Sabini's action. Inspector Campbell is still a part of this as he's, using his power, I guess you could say, as he, him and Polly have an interaction, an entanglement, which then the finale of this one is just phenomenal. I think that's one thing. The finales of each of these are really good. I think seasons 3... kind of 3 and 4. I feel like the first episode's a little like, okay, are we losing it? And even 5 to a bit is kind of like, are we losing it here? But towards the end of the first episodes of each of those seasons, it's like, okay, this is getting good, and then it just picks up. But I think all the finales are phenomenal, and season 2 is no different. Obviously, you have kind of their final push to take over Sabini's whole operation with the tracks, and you have Inspector Campbell's making his final move to get Tommy. And so I thought that was really well done. And obviously you have the battle of what's going to happen. Does he go with May Carlton, who it seems like he's kind of leaning towards, or now that why am I blanking on her name now? Man, that is going to kill me. I cannot think of her name right now. Yeah, her. That's tough. But you kind of see, Campbell loved her for some reason. That was a whole little weird side plot going on. But this one you see, she says she's pregnant. And then, Tommy gets what he wants. They take all of Sabini's men's papers and burn them, but he's taken by the Red Right Hand, who was paid by, Campbell. And obviously that has, I think that is phenomenal. That scene of Tommy when he's like having his last cigarette and he's just saying like, that was so close. I almost had everything. I was so close. And then obviously he's like, all right, just do it, men. And, the guy ends up shooting the other two and saving Tommy and telling him, like, hey, we have plans for you. Get out of here. Just know we'll be in contact. We have plans for you. So I thought that scene was phenomenal. And then Cillian Murphy walking away from that in the field, just kind of like tears running down his face because, it was just, he thought that was it. And it was just insane. So I thought, once again, that finale was phenomenal. And then I think it's like a 2-year jump from 2 to 3, I believe. And obviously we have them getting married. And season 3 definitely was different. Obviously, it focused more on the Russians and that whole situation. It was different. I thought it was pretty good for the most part. Obviously the first 2 were more Birmingham, Small Heath focused. This one's a little bit larger. And then you have his wife dying, which came out of nowhere. I was stunned when that happened. But overall, once again, throughout the series, you kind of just see Tommy after she dies, how he just kind of dissociates from everybody and is just like sleeping out in the middle of the woods with his horse. And he's like, I have to do something to go get rid of that gem that she died with that he thought was cursed. And you just see Tommy kind of very business oriented. And he has the argument with John and Arthur about how he saw Michael and Polly first. And he's just very business focused. And once again, I think that just highlights how amazing his character was. But overall, season 3, like I said, I thought they tried to do something different. And it was pretty good. I still enjoyed it. They can't do the same thing for too long. And then obviously 4 is when we get more back to Birmingham. And you have the family coming together. Obviously, they all split apart on that season 3 finale of, most of them got arrested besides, Tommy and Ada. But season 4, Tommy, we find out he had a letter from the king and he gets them saved. And Tommy's just moving up the ranks, OBE and all that stuff. He just wants to become legal. And he's just telling everybody like, hey, I'm just trying to get us legal. And then that's it. I don't want to do all this illegal stuff. I'm just trying to set us all up. Not always the truth. There's always one more mission for Tommy. But, season 4 I thought was really good with obviously the Chinkrettas coming back for their revenge. And Adrian Brody, playing the Luca, the main protagonist there. And once him and Alfie Simmons have a great interaction. I thought Alfie's character just throughout the series was phenomenal. Tom Hardy just played him so good. I think actually, no, that would have been season 3 because they deal with, whatever the priests and all them were. Sector 7 or a bunch of stuff. That might be Transformers. But I thought the scene where Tommy and Alfie, after Charlie's kidnapped in season 3, just to go back, I kind of wrapped up season 3, but still. Their argument of, Tommy's like, hey, they took my boy, you crossed the line, kill you, whatever. And Alfie does his huge monologue about, if you're going to kill me for the right reason. What line am I supposed to have crossed? Like how many sons have you killed, cut, butchered, and sent straight to hell? And I thought their monologue and their little Alfie yelling at him, I thought that was phenomenal and is easily, to me, the second best interaction or acting scene between two characters that anybody in any show can have. I mean, that was phenomenal. Like I said, the top 3 acting moments in this series, 2 and 3 are Tommy and Alfie together. And then I think season 5 definitely has, to me, what I think is the best, just presence-wise. But like I said, season 4 I thought was really good to get back to Small Heath and Birmingham. Obviously, John dies, which was a huge thing, and Michael getting shot. It was a very intense season since they started off like, hey, John's dead. Like, people can and will, die in this. This isn't, everybody make it out all the time. The scene where the 2 men are sent to the shop for Arthur is, I think, just phenomenal because it honestly was like, is Arthur actually going to die here? And, Arthur being Arthur, he just has to kill both of them and do what he does. But yeah, season 4, I thought, like I said, for the most part, it did focus a good amount with Jesse Eden and about communism and strikes and, women's right in the factories and stuff, which, like I said, it was interesting to kind of talk about that stuff. Obviously, this is a fictional, show. All this didn't happen. So, it's not like this is exactly what happened, but it was just interesting to kind of touch on that and see, as an American, it's not like we talk, obviously, a whole lot about other countries, what happened. So just kind of get a little bit of somewhat knowledge about what happened and about, what was going on in other countries in those times was kind of interesting to learn about, and not to be completely, I'm assuming they're not just out of nowhere, like, say Ridley Scott having Napoleon shoot at the Great Pyramids, kind of, that kind of history compared to this history. I would assume this is a little closer to what happened, unlike Ridley Scott shows. But yeah, I thought season 4 was really good. Like I said, John's death definitely, I think, added to the seriousness of what was going to happen here. But I liked them going back to Birmingham and kind of having that focus. And then from there, it's just kind of 5 and 6 are, Tommy is just in government, in parliament, kind of thing. And he is just OBE, just trying to go legal, as he says. And that's when, Oswald shows up, who is a interesting character. And I thought that storyline was phenomenal. I thought how 5 ended, of the way you thought that he was going to, get him taken out and all that stuff. And everything just goes wrong. And his whole plan fails. And Tommy, you see him in that basically a green room, you could say, background of just what could have happened here. I thought that was super, just really well done, of seeing Tommy actually have somebody on an intellectual level who kind of challenges him and, knows what's going on. For the most part, Polly was that person for him, that he was always, Polly kept him in check. And we saw that in season 4, when she kind of comes, back to finally being herself again, that, she and Tommy are on the same like intellectual level, and she helps challenge Tommy and lead him in the right way. And so I thought that Oswald was a great character of Tommy having somebody who's not, Oswald wasn't going to actually go out there and kill anybody himself, but just mentally he challenged Tommy, and Tommy knew that, which was just really cool to have that. And obviously season 6, though, kind of skipping over 5, like I said, I can't go too much in depth. This video will be forever about each thing. I just kind of want to basically quickly mention each season. But season 6 I thought was just phenomenal. I thought there was so much in that season. Very, very sad how it had to begin with the loss of Polly Gray dying, and obviously that was not the writer's choices. I'm sure. Unfortunately, Helen McCrory passed away. Who was a phenomenal actress, not only in this, but she played, Draco Malfoy's mom, and she did a lot of other stuff, mainly over, and, for the, like, BBC channel. So that was extremely unfortunate. Obviously not just talking about the show, but I believe she was only, like, 55 or so. So for someone to pass away, that's still pretty young. That was incredibly unfortunate and sad for her. And then, the ramifications on the show is, they had to write her out, and that was the best way to do it. I thought they did a good job in the open of the season to, honor, she passed away. In the show they had Polly, also pass away, and they did a good job of giving her time to honor, obviously it was honoring the character, but it was mainly, for Helen McCrory, which was, just, like I said, not just for the show, but just in general, tough. So they did what they can with having to write her off. And, season 6 still was really good. You obviously wish that she would have been there for the whole thing to see kind of what they were going to do with Polly. And if Michael would have gone down the route he did, but obviously season 6 has a lot to do with Uncle Jack from Boston doing business with the Peaky Blinders now, as Tommy now, is trying to get just one more thing, you know what I mean? Once he closes this deal, it's legal for good and all that. But it changes when Tommy learns he has tuberculoma, I believe is what it was. After the passing of his daughter Ruby. I'll be honest, I didn't think Ruby's passing away was too impactful. For me, when she passed away, like, Tommy didn't care or do much with Ruby and Charlie, so it was like, she passed away, I was like, I get them being sad just from the standpoint of, like, it was parents losing a young kid, but, like, overall, we didn't see Ruby a whole lot or have a lot of time with her, so it was kind of just like, okay. But Tommy obviously was hit hard, and he hunts down Esme, is just trying to use his gypsy ability to save Ruby before she passes away, and then once she passes away, to get his revenge. And with Michael being locked up, that was a big part of the show. But Michael was going to get his revenge for the passing of Polly, that it was Tommy's fault she died. Obviously, he didn't actually do it or anything. It was the people just took her out. But he blamed Tommy as Tommy's always the one in control, and someone needed to bring him down. So Michael gets locked up because of Tommy. And I thought season 6 was just phenomenal. I think the way they wrapped it up with everything was so good. Obviously, there are some kind of loose plot holes, or some stuff untied. But potentially they might be making a movie. We'll see how that actually goes. I watched the Vanity Actors on Actors with Cillian Murphy and Margot Robbie, and Margot at the end of it was phenomenal. She was like, I think Margot Robbie said it best. She said, I think there's two people in this world. It's people who are obsessed with Peaky Blinders and people who haven't seen Peaky Blinders yet. And I thought that was phenomenal, because after I watched this TV show, I'm like, this is an amazing show. But she kind of asked him about, is there going to be a movie? And he said he's open to it if there's a good script. So it doesn't sound like there's anything definite for sure, or anything even in the works. Obviously, Cillian Murphy could be just kind of, lying, not wanting to give stuff away, but I doubt there's anything in the works yet, so who knows? I would be happy if they made a movie to tie up some of the holes. But overall, I think it kind of ended in a way that if they don't make a movie, everything's relatively cleared up, and you're fine. There's not super burning questions that you're like, I wish they answered. It's like, for the most part, they got the main stuff kind of taken care of. But obviously, I mean, I just thought season 6 was so good. You have Tommy kind of learning of his tuberculosis and just trying to do. He's like, I just need to make sure I set everybody up in the family. I'm just seeing his money. Unfortunately, you would have liked to see Lizzie get a little bit more closure, I would say. She definitely seemed like she kind of deserved that at the end of the show. But overall, I thought the season was phenomenal. Him kind of trying to do, I don't remember where the island is, but everything with that and Johnny Dogs and the switching, and man, the shooting of Michael, I loved that scene so much. I'm a little upset that I believe the last person to even say Peaky Blinders was Duke, his son that he just found out about through Esme. I think he was, when he kicked out old Finn. Sorry about it, bud, but Finn's not a Shelby. Never was built for that. We all know, throughout the show, he didn't have a huge part, but Finn's not. He doesn't got that dog in him. I kind of would have loved if Michael and Tommy, at some point, Tommy would have said something about the Peaky Blinders. But I thought that was a great scene of him talking about Polly's half of me. I see her in my dreams. And he's like, but I'll see her no more, or she won't visit me anymore, and shoots him. I thought that was just phenomenal. And obviously the ending of that show where Tommy, it seems like this is it, and in the bleak midwinter and all that, which I loved, that came up one more time. I don't know. I love their whole concept around that whole idea of them passing. And obviously he realizes that he was lied to. He does not have anything. And I saw some people, I kind of looked at some stuff about what other people, once I finished the series, what other people felt of it. And some people are kind of upset of him not killing that doctor. I don't know. I kind of liked it. And, the clock struck 11 and he was like, oh, Armistead, which, that was the end of World War I. It was, the agreement was at 11 o'clock on, I think, like 11:11 or something like that, or 1. No, 11, not 1. So that bell went off and he was like, oh, this was, the day that the war ended. And so he was kind of just at peace and, rode off into the sunset once he went back to his caravan. And that was sad to see all this stuff burning. But I thought it ended it was so good. But that was just kind of, a very quick, loose description of each season. Overall, like I said, characters, I think Arthur was so interesting. Kind of early on, it was kind of that battle of his PTSD and him going crazy, and Tommy was, hard on him, definitely at times, about everything with the PTSD and what he's gone through. But just throughout the show, his kind of battle with his inner self, and finding the Lord, and how much Linda kind of helped him for the most part at the beginning, and then they kind of broke up and everything. But I thought Arthur's character was just he also had that presence of, I think it was Elfie who said it. I want to say it was season 2 with everything with Sabini's men and all that. And he was talking about like his brother is like a mad dog. If we do anything to Tommy, he's going to come after us. And he is. And I just thought, Arthur was that older brother who obviously he knew he didn't quite have the brains that Tommy had, but he was just, Tommy's attack dog that you sent him to do anything and he was willing to do it. And it was just kind of, they had that moment. It was in his cellar. I don't remember if it was season 5 or I don't think it was 6. They had the moment in the cellar talking about when they fought, and Arthur was talking about, oh yeah, you beat me, and Tommy was like, I know you let me win and all that stuff. And then it came up again in 6 when Arthur found out about his tuberculoma, and he was talking about letting him win and stuff. But he was just that older brother that obviously World War I just changed him so much with his PTSD. But Arthur had character. He was a sweet character. The way he would even walk, his swinging of the arms, he was just a menacing, like, yeah, he was kind of tall and skinny. He wasn't like super, he was relatively tall, I would say, probably, and super skinny for the most part. It's not like he was physically imposing, like super strong or something, but everybody just knew like Arthur Shelby was a loose cannon. Obviously John, it's kind of crazy to think he was only in the show for half the series. His character was good for the most part. You kind of saw him grow a little bit in season 3 about everything about, all you do is ask us to kill, like we're not just, these little attack whatever. But I think his dying was super impactful, just to kind of set the tone of the show, like, hey, this is not everybody makes it all the time, which, season 6 maybe you would have liked to see something happen to kind of prove that point. But I feel like between John and Polly both dying, obviously, like we talked about, Polly wasn't part of the plan. Her dying, that was just a very, very unfortunate circumstance, what they had to do. And then obviously Michael dying, but that was different. He wasn't, at that time still like a Shelby exactly. I think the show still killed off characters. That was interesting enough. And you had the fake Arthur, when you thought Arthur died in season 4. I completely skipped over that when talking about 4. But that got me. I thought he was actually gone. And when he came back, I was so happy. Again, would have loved him to say something about the Peaky Blinders before he shot and killed Luca. But still, that scene was sweet. But I thought John's character, for the most part, him and Esme's relationship was just funny. Obviously, Ada, I thought she had, I want to say it was 5. It could have been season 6. Yeah, it was season 6, actually, now I think about it, because it's when Tommy had to go, when he was trying to deal with everything with Ruby, trying to go find gypsies, Esme and stuff. And she was sent in place to meet with Oswald's wife, who I can't think of her name, Diana? Yeah, I think Diana. She met with her first, and then Oswald came in, and then Uncle Jack came in. I thought that was some of Ada's best work as her character that they gave her as her character, of her just kind of talking with Diana and just her verbal jousting, if you will. She showed that she has the intellect too of a Shelby. She is smart and quick-witted, and can prove that, hey, just because I'm, at the time, women were not respected well at all, obviously. She was, kind of showing to when Uncle Jack was there, and she was like, I know what I'm talking about, everybody. Let's just shut up and just remember I am still Shelby. I still have power. And I thought that was probably some of Ada's best work. But overall, Ada's character I thought was great. Obviously, she had a huge part of getting Polly back to, herself. And kind of towards the end, once Paul died, helping make Tommy kind of, she was there for Tommy to help him. So I thought Ada was a great character. Finn, for the most part, was very, very minor. He had a little bit of growth on the show as just age-wise, but character-wise, it wasn't anything special. I was kind of happy the way it ended. I almost wouldn't have been mad if they ended up killing him, if Duke shot him too. But I kind of get that, he still was a Shelby, that he deserved that warning to be like, hey, you're no longer Shelby, get out of here. And he was like, oh, I'll come for you to Duke. It's like, no one's really afraid of you, Finn. So, Finn, really, there's not too much to talk about with him. Obviously, Aunt Paul was a phenomenal character. Like you said, you would have loved to see how the show originally was going to go. Unfortunately, with her passing, it was the right thing to do, not to just recast her. But her character was phenomenal. Her acting was great. Not a whole lot to say there. Just a very, very unfortunate circumstance. And Michael, he grew on me at the beginning. I was kind of like, okay, he's kind of gave off that just like sinister younger kid kind of feel at the beginning, and it was like, I I don't really care. Is he going to supposed to take over Tommy's role? As he grew up, I think he grew into the character and he was actually more interesting. As you kind of saw that he was intellectually there and trying to take over Tommy's spot a little bit and just, grow once Gina came in. They were just trying to grow the business and he was going to take over all that. Big fan of him dying. Big fan of Tommy being the one to shoot him. That was just sweet. And then obviously, Tommy. Obviously, there's small characters. Curly was great. And Uncle Charlie. And, over there, they were phenomenal. Abraham McGold, he was a really good character who kind of got done dirty. It was impactful, though, his death. But would have maybe liked to see him get a little bit more. But I thought he was really good. I'm trying to think of, obviously, I talked about Alfie Simmons. I thought was phenomenal throughout the entire series. I don't know. I'm trying to think of some of the other characters that maybe I'm kind of blanking on. And then obviously, like I said, just close this thing out. Tommy Shelby is one of the greatest characters of all time, written for a TV show, acting, everything. He was just presence. The main thing I was talking about was season 5, episode 3. The beginning of that when Paul and Tommy go to the church to talk to the 3 nuns. Yeah. That whole scene, that was like 5 minutes. I think it's just perfection of just presence of, Tommy smoking and then being like, we don't smoke here. And he's like, I fucking do. And they can't say anything about it. And just talking about how terrible they were, the nuns were, and what they were doing to the children. And everything about that. And Aunt Paul just laying in and Tommy, smashing the wine glasses and being like, wear it and see how it's broken. And I just thought that scene was just so powerful. That was just presence. And Aunt Paul telling them that if I have to come here again, I'll kill you if I have to come here again. And I'll be wearing my heels so you listen for me coming. I thought it was just that whole scene, I thought was just phenomenal. 5 minutes for sure of I just loved their presence. There's so many people in this. Tommy had great presence. Arthur had presence. For the most part, obviously towards the end, he was kind of finding God again and all that stuff. Elfie, for the most part, he had presence. Just the way that these characters were written, that you knew they had power, and I just thought it was really well done. I just thought Tommy was amazing. Just smoke and cigs, so many cigs smoked throughout the series, and also just a lot of whiskey thrown back, quite a bit of blow that kind of went away towards the end of the series, though. Probably, for the most part, there really wasn't any in 5 or 6 that I can think of. But man, they were just ripping cigs the whole time. Hope Cillian's okay. They use those herbal things, I think, for the cigarettes. Those, I don't know what exactly are, that aren't supposed to be, still do damage though. So he went from that to Oppenheimer. So thoughts out there to Cillian Murphy's lungs. Hope they hold up. Need him around for a while. But yeah, overall as a series, like I said, I thought they did a great job of really good characters tying up. I mean, there are some kind of loose things just in general that we didn't really talk about, that at least I don't remember, like the artist that Aunt Paul was kind of going to get with. I don't know what happened with him really. I'm sure there's other ones that I just can't think of right now that kind of didn't get touched up as much. For the most part, I thought this series was phenomenal. The directing in last season definitely looked a little bit different. Some of the camera stuff they did. For the most part, I was okay with it. There's a couple scenes I was like, okay, this kind of looks a little weird, the movement in it. But overall, I thought the costume design, it looked really well done. This just Birmingham and all that, I mean, it was its own place. Them walking through it was phenomenal. The ending of Arthur getting revenge for Aunt Paul for that, I think she was the Irish Republic, I believe she was a part of. Her getting her revenge, or revenge for Paul on that lady, was sweet. Jeremiah having, a nice little scene at the end was cool to see. But overall, I thought the show is phenomenal. I definitely agree with Margot Robbie. There's 2 people out there. You either are obsessed with Peaky Blinders or you just haven't watched it yet, because I feel like it's hard to watch that show and not have an appreciation for it. But it was really good. I would say it's like a 9.3 for me out of 10 for the whole series. It's kind of hard to do that for shows, obviously, ranking an entire 6-season thing. But I would just say somewhere low 9. I really enjoyed this show a lot. I hope they do make a TV or a movie, just because I loved the show while watching it. I would love anytime I can get back to the Peaky Blinders and Thomas Shelby and Small Heath and Birmingham. I'm happy. So I would not be mad about the the movie also tie up some loose ends, but like I said, but for the most part, I don't really have any problems. The way it ended, I thought was really, really well done. And I thought this series was a lot. Obviously, this was a whole spoiler filled, so I'm not going to say, if you haven't watched it, you should watch it. Because I would assume if you made it this far, you had to have watched it. But if you did make it this far, like the video, comment down below. What are your thoughts about it? Is there anything that I kind of skipped over in this? Obviously, went quite a bit longer than I thought I was going to go. But is there anything that I skipped over that you want to talk about in the comments below? Let me know. If you're looking forward to the movie or you think there should not be a movie and just leave the story how it ended, let me know that too. Subscribe to the channel, and see you with Josh and Alex again in our next video.